Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have my book review of the fifth book in the Fate of the Jedi series, Allies, by Christie Golden. This is the fifth book and the midway point in the Fate of the Jedi series for Star Wars that was produced in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And I've just been having a blast reading through this series for the first time. I started reading this series before it was cool to read it. I know a lot of YouTubers and people on Twitter that I follow for Star Wars decided that after the Ahsoka series, they would read this, The Fate of the Jedi, for obvious reasons. But I had decided on this a couple months ago, so I was ahead of the curve. But I've been reading through this series, really enjoyed it. I read Outcast, which I thought was like a solid 7 out of 10. Really good book. One of the storylines I just didn't care for. Omen I thought was a little bit better. It was like an 8 out of 10. It was really good, but not a favorite Star Wars book, but really good. Then I thought, oh man, did it step up well with Abyss. I thought Abyss was a terrific book. And then I read Backlash, which also was a superb book. And I was like, can you keep topping this each and every time? And apparently, yes, you can, because Allies was superb. This is, surprisingly, a longer book for Christie Golden. She normally writes books that are in the 250 to 300 page range. She rarely goes over 300 pages if she can help it with her novels, especially for Star Wars and Star Trek. So to see her have a novel here that's like 400 pages is actually quite impressive for her. I really enjoyed reading this book. The political stuff just comes to a head really well here. The stuff with Dala is just really interesting to follow. And you see it's no longer, she's not really trying to hide her plans anymore from the Jedi. It's more of a who will blink first. And so the stuff with the Mandalorians and Dala in this book is great. You also have the stuff with the Jedi who are trying to fend off the Mandalorians, which is great. You also have the kind of political game that's played in front of the people and seeing how the people react to things. And then there's actually there's a subplot throughout the series about Tahiri and her trial. And that comes to a head in this series. And it is fantastic in this book. It's really, Tahiri's trial is really great to read. It's like a really microcosm of a John Grisham book. And Christie Golden does a really good job doing the legal stuff, but making it fit for Star Wars legal stuff. And so I loved all that stuff. But then where this book gets its title, really, well, the title has double meanings for a couple of ways, but where a book really gets its title, Allies, comes in the fact that Luke Skywalker and Ben, who have his son, who have captured Vistara Kai, a member of the Lost Tribe of the Sith, decide to team up with the Lost Tribe of the Sith and their soldiers, their Sith army, to fight against Abeloth. Abeloth is the one Sith, the evil creature that they are having to fight, the evil creature who is threatening everything in the galaxy and causing all of the Jedi and Force users to turn crazy. And so they end up deciding to team up. And, of course, Jedi and Sith are not going to get along really well, except there are two who surprisingly do, and that is Ben and Vistara, they have just a very fascinating dynamic between them that we also established well in Backlash. Their dynamic in Backlash was pretty good. But in Allies, you really get to see them play off of each other. You really get to see them interact more. I hope we get even more in the next couple of books because they're delightful to read about. And you see what happens when Jedi and Sith, join forces. And this is not something we've really seen in Star Wars books. Maybe it happened in some Old Republic stories that I don't remember, but really this is brand new. This is a new idea. The fact that Jedi really have to combine with Sith to fight. I think also there's a few Clone Wars stories where this happened in the Clone Wars TV show, but not like this. Not to this capacity where like an army of Sith has to work with an army of Jedi type thing, which I just find very fascinating. And there's going to be problems along the way. It's really hard not to talk too much about spoilers. This whole series is so tightly worked that it almost feels like one giant novel split up across 9 stories, and the difference between each book is what is happening between Luke and Ben. Their plotline is what separates each book. They have a unique plot in each book, but the overarching political storyline feels like it's just one big part that they just split up into different parts, one big story that they split up into different parts. And all the stuff with Jaina and Jag and Han and Leia and Alana and all that stuff is just it is all part of one big piece, and you're just seeing it get split up into different parts so that they could release them as individual books. Because otherwise, this if they released one giant book of this series, it would be easily probably about 3,000 pages, and you just can't do that for a Star Wars book. You can't release a 3,000. You can't do that for any book, really. A 3,000 page book. 1,000 pages is pushing it. But anyway, they could find a way if they wanted, I think. But nonetheless, it's still really entertaining. I'm loving everything about this series. It just works so well for me. So I'm going to give this one like a 9.3 out of 10. It just keeps getting better and better. Next one up is Vortex by Troy Denning, which I think will have a lot more Abeloth. Because I think I'm noticing a pattern more that Alston prefers to do unique world building and focus on the established, what we know. Then you have someone like Christie Golden, who likes to focus on the Lost Tribe of the Sith. She tries to make them front and center of her story. And she uses elements that the others use, but that's her strength is the Lost Tribe of the Sith and Vistara. Then you have Troy Denning, who really seems to like Abeloth, and he incorporates the darker elements, and he has certain things that he likes, idiosyncrasies in the stories that he likes to incorporate. So they each have their little idiosyncrasies, but they blend so well. They really blend well. Whereas looking at the Legacy of the Force series, their idiosyncrasies, and it's funny, 2 of the 3 authors are the same, Aaron and Troy, they were the same, but the difference was you had Karen Traviss, whose stories were just so different, so out there, so not part of the main plot, that it just felt jarring, and her style was so different from theirs that it was jarring. You can tell Troy and Aaron established a rapport, and they established a writing style that worked for them, and it's obvious that Karen really didn't fit what they wanted, but Christie is the type of author that adapts, and Christie adapts to what's needed. Certainly she has strengths, but she adapts to what's needed, and this was the perfect work for her to slide into, which is why she works so well with this book. So that is my rating and review of Allies by Christie Golden, the 5th book in the Fate of the Jedi series. Cue Bon Jovi, we're halfway there. This is past the midway point of this book is the midway point of the entire series. So I am past the midway point for the series, and I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future. I think it's going to be a fun, explosive second half. And I can't wait to read it because if it's anything like the first half, it's been a delight. So that's my review of the Fate of the Jedi series, book Allies. If you liked it, leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on the subject. If you haven't read it, let me know what you're excited about with this series. And if you picked it up because of Ahsoka, how are you enjoying the series so far? Let me know all the thoughts in the comments section down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.